Today I'm going to show you how to replace the glass on an LCD screen. We're going to be using a iPhone 6 Plus. We're going to put a new piece of glass on it. It's going to look like the one you see here. This has been refurbished. It's original Apple, but it's got a new piece of glass on it. I'm going to show you the process on that today, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, before we get started, let's go over one thing, and that is eye protection. Please get yourself some kind of glasses or safety goggles, just in case any of these glass shards pop up and hit you in the face. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to let you know this is extremely fragile, and with the glass broken, it is easier to break. We're going to be testing this screen throughout the process at various intervals, just so you can make sure it's still working. It's going to take a while before you get used to this. I broke quite a few screens myself before I was comfortable with what I was doing, and I'm going to show you the hang-ups that I had along the way, but just know that there's going to be trial and error. So if you break a few screens along the way, don't beat yourself up over it. It's just not worth it. Also, if you're watching this video because you broke your own screen and you're wanting to figure out how to get it fixed, this is probably not the video for you. I'm going to be using equipment, very expensive equipment, and I don't expect, Joe customer to go out and buy $4,000 worth of equipment because of one broken screen. It's best just to take yours to a shop. There are other videos that can show you how to do it at home. I don't like those techniques. I don't use those techniques. They don't work for me. And if you just can't find anybody in your area to fix your screen and you need to get it fixed, I'll go ahead and link my email in the description. You can give me a shout out and we can take care of you. The first step I'm going to do is take the frame off. I'm going to show you how to safely do that without hurting yourself or breaking your screen. Then I'm going to take the glass off. I'm going to show you how to take the glass off without burning yourself or cutting yourself or breaking your LCD screen along the way. After we get the glass all removed, I'm going to show you how to take the polarizer film off. The polarizer film is going to leave a lot of glue and adhesive residue on the LCD screen itself. I'm going to show you my process for taking off that adhesive. Once the adhesive is off, we're going to clean it to a mirror finish. That's going to prep it, and then we're going to build it back up with another polarizer film, another piece of glass, and then we're going to put the frame on. Along the way, I'll show you how to make sure you don't have any air bubbles or problems. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first step now. I did say you're going to need to test your screen, and we'll be testing it throughout the process. So before we apply any heat or do any work, let's make sure the screen itself is in good condition. And there you go. The screen's in good condition. The phone I'm using is iTunes locked. It's got the red iTunes logo. It's never going to be a useful phone, so I just plug it in to make sure that the screens work. That flicker is just because of the cables are a little pinched in there. I'm not really worried about that flicker. Okay, now that you guys have seen the phone light up and respond, we're going to go ahead and get started with the actual repair process. Alright, I moved my electric hot plate into the camera view so you guys can see it. It's only at 19 degrees Celsius. I've actually got it set at 89 degrees Celsius. That's about 192 Fahrenheit. That's going to be just barely too hot to touch, and that's what you want your screen at when you're working with it. You want it to be hot enough where it's just unpleasant to touch. So I'm cleaning any dust or glass or dirt that might get on that hot plate, and we're just going to let it warm up. Another reminder at this point, the screen itself is extremely fragile. It's just going to get more and more fragile as the process continues. Do not pull too hard or bend it too much. Once you remove this frame around the outside, that's when it becomes just extremely easy to damage. So keep that in mind the whole time. You don't want to pull too hard on these metal tabs. You don't want to push too hard. And you never want to fight the adhesive. That's one thing I learned is if you find yourself fighting the adhesive, you are letting it get too cool. So keep it warm, keep it on that pad. Once it starts feeling comfortable in your hand, that's when you need to set it down for a couple seconds and let it heat back up. The glass disperses the heat very quickly in your hand. Alright, now let's talk about tools. A couple things you're going to need for this process other than the equipment is you're going to need a set of side cutters like this. These side cutters are very helpful for removing that frame. And you're also going to want to keep quite a few of these around, in my opinion, are dull razors. They're just very valuable. A good dull razor is extremely helpful for prying up corners or getting in between things. Some of this adhesive is a little stickier than others, so you can't quite heat it up too much without ruining the frame. This is a dull razor. It's not hurting my finger at all. Just keep these on hand. They're extremely helpful, and as a matter of fact, I use dull razors to pop up the screens. I don't like the suction cut method. All right, our hot pad finally made it to the 89 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and stick the screen on top of it, and I'm going to let this get up to temperature. It's not going to cause any warping in the back. That's why we keep it at that heat range. All right, just testing that corner, seeing it come up. It's only been a few seconds, but it's already getting really hot. And I'm just going to do a couple test pulls when I pull it off. I like to try and find the weak spot of the screen. And you're going to learn this the more screens you do. But each screen, especially ones that are very shattered like this, they kind of have a weak spot. And if you can find that, you can capitalize on it. And that's where you can get your pliers in or your razor in. So, all right, I'm just kind of testing those metal frame pieces. It's not quite hot enough yet. And a lot of this is just trial and error. So bear with yourself. Give yourself a lot of patience. Don't try and do this as a rush. Give yourself a lot of time to work. I was always under a lot of pressure, and it didn't help at the beginning. So just wiggling that frame and trying not to bend that frame. It looks like it's coming a little bit for me. And what you'll notice is if you look closely, you'll see little air bubbles start to develop on those cracks. And that is the glass giving away from the screen easier than the frame. And you can take that. If you're pulling to the side and the glass starts separating, just let it separate and take that little gap, and you'll see me get some of those gaps. Got one right there by the finger, and I just capitalize on it. Once that piece of glass is off the screen, I just pull the glass off, and there I have a little hole if I needed to get a razor blade in there, or if I needed to get my pliers in there. But I'm just going to capitalize on that gap and keep pulling. All right, finding my weak spots, making sure not to put too much pressure on that down corner. If you pull too hard on that down corner, you're going to break the screen. So just pulling sideways, got the little lip there. All right, pulled that piece of glass out. Let's see here. Working on this side here. And that's all it takes. Just maybe 15 seconds in my hands, and it already cooled down. I was fighting the adhesive. So I let it heat up, and I actually had a customer come in, so I didn't get to show you where I cut it. I cut it right there at that corner, and what happened is I pulled, and that whole section just kind of slid out, and I peeled away that glass and exposed that plastic, and I just clipped the plastic. And now once you clip that plastic, it becomes a whole lot easier. You just work your way around the frame, and you pull, but you don't lift up. So see, I'm pulling away from the glass. There, that whole bottom piece just came, and that saved me a lot of trouble. And as you can see, it's not the frame that's coming off as much as it is the glass that's coming off the LCD screen. And that's where you're going to get a lot of headway if you're patient. So just being patient, working my way up that corner there. And look at that. Most of the frame's off. And actually everything that's connected to the LCD is off. It's just that top piece. And we don't want that in the way for later, so we are going to go ahead and heat this back up and try and get that top piece off. So we're going to put it back on the pad here and remove any of that glass. I don't want things to not heat evenly. And it really just takes a couple of seconds. There's not a lot of surface area left that I need to worry about, and I'm only really focusing on that top area. And I'm going to go ahead and let it get hot enough. I'm going to try and remove the glass that's connecting it instead of the plastic. It's really weak at this point. It's got no support, so I don't want to pull on the plastic if I don't have to, if I can just slide the glass. So I'm going to give it the extra time and let it really heat up, and I'm going to capitalize on that heat. All right, this thing's nice and toasty, and I'm just going to slowly pull away from the screen, and that should give me a couple air bubbles we're seeing there. Just a little bit of play, and that's all it took. Look at there. All right, now we've got just the LCD screen and the glass. The frame is completely removed, and I'm going to take advantage of this heat while it's on there, and I'm just going to pick off a couple of the corner pieces, and you'll see why that's important in the next section. But right now it looked like it was a pretty smooth process. We didn't have any real issues that I need to tell you about, and someday I'll make a video where I break things and I'll show you exactly how bad it can go, but I'm pretty happy with this one. There is one process you can use to remove the glass. It's pretty common. You see a lot of videos. You take the LCD face down and you run your wire where the glass and the LCD meet. The problem is it's always face down. It's on like a hot plate or on some kind of suction pad. I did not like that method at all when I was trying it. I'd make a lot of mistakes. Because you can't see what you're doing, I would get snagged on a small shard of glass that would come up, and I would end up flipping my screen up off the plate, or I would just break the wire. The wire is very breakable. You put too much pressure on it, and it'll just snap. So between the broken wires and lifting up the LCD screen, I knew that method wasn't going to work for me, and had a friend from Mississippi invite me down to learn from him on how he does it, and he taught me the method I'll be teaching you in the next session. It's been very helpful for me. I break a lot less screens, I break a lot less wires, and it makes it a lot better of an experience for me as a repair technician. I don't constantly have that anxiety if I'm going to do it right or wrong, and I like it because it gives me the ability to judge whether or not this is going to be an easy screen repair. Not only can I feel just the tensity difference in the wire, but also I can see where my problem areas are going to be. And there's a lot of different ways you can really avoid some traps with it. So in the next section, I'm going to be teaching you a way to remove the glass that I found not only works for me really well, but I think will work for everybody. And I just think it's far superior to the methods that are being taught by most of the videos online. And that's really my main motivation for creating videos, is I want to give people the information I couldn't find when I was looking for help. So what we're going to do now is plug this thing into the phone. We're going to make sure it clicks on. We're looking for that white apple and the red iTunes logo. So we're going to click that in here. All right. Got it clicked in. We're going to go ahead and test it out. Make sure it powers on. This is a junk phone, so it's got a bad battery in it. I'm plugging it in to make sure it works. All right, it's got it nice and plugged in, and there we go, success. All right, we didn't break anything, so we'll see you on the next section on how to remove glass from an LCD.